When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
You could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think,
On May 4th, Damson Idris walked the 2026 Met Gala carpet in a custom Prada look, smiling, posing, doing the whole routine. Meanwhile, Nicki Minaj, who had attended that event for 8 straight years and knew exactly what those steps felt like, reportedly never even got an invitation. There was no scheduling clash, no last-minute change of plans. The invite apparently never came. Same industry, same event, same Monday night in New York. One of them is inside the most exclusive fashion party on Earth, while the other is left outside with no official explanation. And nobody seems willing to explain why the same system appears to push one career forward while quietly freezing another person out.
I mean, it's hard to sort of ignore the sort of who attended and why they attended, because it is essentially seen as the Oscars of the fashion industry, except for nobody wins anything. It's just kind of it's a big power play. It's about fashion, but it's also about who's matters and who's got status, who's got power, and also who's got money.
Let me step back for a second, because the way Idris got there makes the contrast even harder to ignore. At the 2025 Met Gala, he did not simply arrive in a sharp suit. He pulled up in an APXGP race car. He wore a full Tommy Hilfiger racing suit and a helmet covered in 20,000 Swarovski crystals. Then, right there on the carpet, in front of all the cameras, 2 assistants physically tore the suit off his body, ripped it right off him. Underneath was a red tartan 3-piece tuxedo. It was theatrical. It was strange. And if you really stopped and looked at it, the whole thing came off like some kind of public performance, almost like a display of submission. Most people did not seem to dwell on that part. Instead, the industry rewarded him. His movie F1 went on to gross more than $630 million. It became the most successful sports film of all time, and the CEO of Formula One personally named Idris a global brand ambassador. The guy who stood there while his racing suit was torn off on the carpet ended up becoming the face of one of the most elite sports organizations in the world. Now look at the other side of this story. According to insider reports cited by reporter Rob Shooter, Minaj's Met Gala invitations did not just slow down, they disappeared. Let me say that again. They disappeared. One source told Shooter that Hollywood stopped returning her calls. Another claimed there is basically an invisible wall around her now and nobody wants to be seen opening the gate. This does not sound like somebody who simply decided she was done with fashion events. After nearly a decade of attendance, she reportedly stopped getting invited altogether. And it goes beyond the Met Gala. She was also missing from the 2026 Grammys. Remember what happened there? Host Trevor Noah pointed out that she was not in the building and the crowd cheered. Her peers, the same people who share carpets and after parties with her, applauded the fact that she was absent. That does not come across like a random crowd reaction. It feels deliberate. And this is where the silence around all of it starts to stand out. Vogue does not comment on guest lists. That is official policy. The institution that controls access to the Met Gala will not confirm or deny why anyone gets invited or left out, which means there has been no public denial of the insider reports, no statement saying Minaj was invited and turned it down, no explanation about a scheduling conflict, just silence. And in this situation, that silence does not really read like professionalism. It feels more like a door staying shut. If the reports were false, you would expect somebody at Vogue to say so. You would expect someone close to Minaj to say she chose to stay home. But nobody has. And when powerful institutions stay this quiet, people usually assume there is at least some truth close enough to the story that nobody wants to stir it up further.
About the relationship between art and fashion, essentially. And the link between the exhibition itself and the actual dress code tends to be quite tangential. And it was a slightly different one. It was called Fashion as Art. So everybody dressed up in 2 ways, either as sort of works of art themselves. It was quite a literal taking the painting and putting on a dress, or some of them did sort of arrange their body in a slightly new way. But the idea was to use sort of fashion as a way of sort of valorizing some of the bodies that we don't normally see in fashion. So there was quite a...
So, put the 2 situations side by side. Idris takes part in this strange, almost humiliating public reveal. Assistants tear his clothes off while cameras capture every second. Soon after, his career shoots upward. Minaj moves into a different political lane. She appears at conservative events, praises the president, calls herself his #1 fan. And somewhere along the way, the invitations reportedly stop coming. Nobody announces a ban. The industry just slowly stops reaching out. No press release, no public explanation, just a quiet shift in how people respond to her, and the people who probably know the full story are not saying much publicly. Now look at the timing. The 2026 Met Gala happened on May 4th. The insider report about Minaj's missing invitations surfaced in the days leading up to it. So whatever decision had been made was already happening while Idris was getting fitted for his Prada suit and choosing pieces from his own jewelry line, Deidris, to wear that night. The 2 paths seem to have split months earlier, probably around the same time Minaj appeared on stage with Trump allies and publicly declared her loyalty. Nobody officially connects those dots. They probably never will. But the sequence is difficult to ignore. One person appeared to go along with the system. The other pushed in a different direction. And the difference in how they were treated stands out pretty clearly. And the industry did not stay neutral either. It leaned into it. When Billy Porter was asked about Minaj on a red carpet, he did not give some polished diplomatic answer. He said 2 words that made his position pretty obvious. And when the Grammys crowd cheered her absence, that did not sound like a random burst of energy from the room. It sounded like a room full of peers signaling that she was no longer welcome there. The same people smiling together in magazine spreads, showing up at the same release parties, working with the same publicists, did not exactly rush to defend her once she started getting publicly mocked. Most of them stayed quiet, and some joined in. So, what is the most generous explanation here? That guest lists change. That 8 years of attendance does not guarantee a 9th. Maybe Minaj simply fell out of favor for ordinary logistical reasons. But that explanation gets harder to buy when you remember who was walking the 2026 carpet instead. Idris was not just another celebrity attendee. He was the person behind the single most talked about moment of the entire 2025 gala. He was the one standing there while assistants ripped his racing suit off. Then, almost immediately afterward, he became the global ambassador for the sport his movie was about. People can interpret that however they want, but it is easy to see why some viewers think the whole thing looked less random than it was supposed to.
If there is a God side and the other side, if there are moral things and things that are immoral, if there is this side or that side, it can't be left up to thought process. I'm an enforcer on this side. I'm not only on God's side.
And then there is another layer to it. Even the insiders do not fully agree on why Minaj got shut out. Some point to politics. Others say it has to do with the Roc Nation War. Nobody really explains what the Roc Nation War is even supposed to mean. But Jay-Z's wife Beyoncé was a co-chair of the 2026 Met Gala. So now you have a situation where the reported reasons for the exclusion are vague, unconfirmed, and possibly overlapping. Politics, industry feud, maybe both, maybe neither. And Vogue still refuses to comment. So people are left piecing together multiple explanations, none officially confirmed, none ruled out either, all leading back to the same outcome. Minaj is out, Idris is in, and nobody in power seems eager to publicly own that decision. What really stands out is how other celebrities have started creating distance, not through dramatic public statements, mostly through silence, through absence, through a sudden lack of support. Very few of Minaj's former allies rushed to defend her once the exclusion report surfaced. Compare that with how quickly people rallied around Idris. The industry understands how this works. People know that standing too close to someone who appears to be on the wrong side of that invisible wall can affect their own access too. So they pull back, they stop returning calls, they stop extending invitations, and eventually, someone who used to walk freely into these rooms suddenly finds themselves outside looking in. Let me be clear about what we actually know and what is still speculation. We know Idris did that 2025 suit-ripping moment. We know he was rewarded afterward. We know Minaj made a series of public political statements. We know her invitations reportedly disappeared. We know Vogue refuses to explain. We know the Grammys crowd cheered her absence. We know Billy Porter said what he said. The rest of it, the causal link, the hidden test, the loyalty framework, has not been proven. Still, when the same system seems to produce completely different outcomes depending on who falls in line and who does not, people are naturally going to start connecting dots and watching closely to see what happens next.
Or order, because that's my position. The fact that it's ignored by the clowns because they all in the same frat, comedically, like, that's all well and good. I don't care nothing about none of that. But
And that next part is what has a lot of people paying attention. Because if the Met Gala really does function like some kind of loyalty test, if all the fashion and spectacle and public performance are also serving as a kind of screening process, then Minaj probably would not be the first person to fall out of favor, and she will not be the last. The bigger issue is who decides where that line is, who decides what counts as stepping out of bounds, and whether anybody inside that world is ever willing to openly talk about it. So this is where things stand at the end of this part of the story. Damson Idris is inside the 2026 Met Gala wearing Prada, showing off a custom jewelry cuff, and riding a career wave that still seems to be growing. Nicki Minaj is outside, reportedly shut out, with invitations gone and calls no longer being returned. Vogue will not comment. People around the industry whisper about politics and a Roc Nation feud, and the one person who has publicly claimed to understand how this system works, the one who argued that these extreme fashion moments are less about art and more about loyalty, has been sitting on the sidelines watching all of this unfold, ready to explain what they believe happened? But that part comes later. For now, the pattern is what people keep focusing on. One celebrity appeared to play along and got rewarded. Another pushed in her own direction and seems to have been pushed out. And the institution controlling the guest list still is not offering any explanation. There's a voice that has been floating around this whole situation long before anybody started talking about missing Met Gala invitations. Katt Williams. Years ago, in different interviews, he said some of the strangest fashion moments at events like the Met Gala are not random at all. According to him, they are tests. Quiet, calculated tests to see who will follow instructions, who will wear the bizarre outfit, who is willing to look ridiculous on a global stage. Williams claims the people who go along with it get rewarded. The ones who refuse or who step out of line somewhere else end up getting treated differently afterward. Not necessarily fired, not publicly dragged. They just slowly stop showing up on the lists that matter.
All lies will be exposed, that's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
And Williams tells one story in particular that really sticks with people. He claims that he and Ludacris were both invited to what he called an Illuminati meeting. Forget the label for a second and just focus on the details he gave. According to Williams, they were told only one of them could take a deal. The offer was supposedly $200 million for 20 movies, and whoever accepted it would also end up with what Williams described as a light-skinned, ugly face wife. His words, not mine. Williams says he turned the deal down. Ludacris, according to him, accepted it. Is any of that provable? No. There is no recording, no contract, no outside confirmation. But the specificity of the story is what makes people pause for a second. 200 million. 20 movies. A weirdly personal detail about a spouse. It does not sound like vague internet gossip. It sounds like someone describing a moment they genuinely believe happened. And whether you believe that room existed or not, the pattern Williams keeps describing, rewards for compliance, silence for refusal, is the same one a lot of people think they are watching play out in public. So let's talk about what happened to Minaj outside the Met Gala bubble, because the story starts getting bigger the more you zoom out. The White House publicly used her image and her music. Their official social media account posted a video set to her song, Bees in the Trap. She loved it. She thanked them. She joked that whoever uploaded it had unlimited backstage access for life. Then she showed off a Trump Gold card that she said the president gave her. She appeared at a Treasury Department event, called herself probably the president's #1 fan, and said the criticism only made her support him more. Then came the awkward part. A White House official later told the New York Times that the card was basically just a souvenir, not a visa document, not a path to citizenship, just a memento. So after publicly embracing her and using her music for engagement online, they also made it clear that the thing she was proudly showing off did not actually carry any real weight. And honestly, that may have hit harder than the Met Gala situation itself. It is one thing to feel pushed out by Hollywood. It is another thing to publicly support a political machine and then watch it quietly create distance once things get uncomfortable. The same administration that benefited from her endorsement later reduced the whole gold card thing to a novelty item. And where exactly did that leave her? Hollywood already seemed to be backing away. The political side got the attention it wanted from the moment and then moved on. Suddenly, she is in this strange position where neither side fully wants to claim her. A global superstar ends up looking isolated while both worlds keep their distance.
You can't build a resentment about it. You have to still try and love those people.
Yeah,
Because that's the way they're thinking.
because it ain't personal.
No, it's not personal. They don't really mean to hurt you.
No.
Not really.
The public reaction has not been gentle either. A petition calling for her deportation reportedly gathered more than 10,000 signatures. Just think about that for a second. 10,000 people signed onto something saying she should be removed from the country. The petition has no legal authority. It is not going to trigger official action. But the fact that it spread at all says a lot about how intense the backlash became. She did not commit a crime. She did not hurt anybody. She expressed political support that made people angry. And now, thousands of strangers are signing petitions demanding she leave the country. At a certain point, the industry does not even have to actively destroy someone's career. Once the support around them disappears, the public reaction can take over on its own. Now, this is where the insider talk starts making the situation even murkier. The same people who claimed her invitations disappeared also floated another explanation. According to them, it was between the politics and the Rock Nation War. The Rock Nation War. What does that even mean? Nobody really explains it. Nobody put specifics on the record. But here's what we do know. Jay-Z founded Rock Nation. His wife, Beyoncé, was a co-chair of the 2026 Met Gala. So the same event that reportedly shut Minaj out also had Beyoncé helping lead it from the top. Is that the actual reason? Or is the Rock Nation angle simply an easier explanation that keeps people from directly talking about the politics? Nobody involved seems interested in clearing it up. The insiders stay vague. The sources do not elaborate. And Vogue, as always, refuses to comment on guest lists.
You're here, basically, right? You live here. You're part
Most of the
system
time, yeah.
now.
Yeah, really. I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I integrated.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's pretty much based on money. The system here.
It is.
Yeah.
The system is completely based on money.
Yeah.
The studio system.
That silence is carrying a lot of weight at this point. If Vogue came out and confirmed Minaj was not invited, the story would immediately become sharper and more direct. If they said she was invited and declined, most of the speculation would probably disappear overnight. But they are saying nothing, so every version of the story stays alive at the same time. Politics, industry feud, both. Neither. Maybe she was never as secure in that world as people assumed. Maybe her team misread the situation. Maybe there was not one big reason at all, just a series of smaller tensions that finally led to one very public absence. Nobody can fully close the story because the people who could answer it are staying quiet. Naturally, that keeps the speculation going. You know what else keeps people talking? Minaj herself has not publicly addressed the Met Gala situation at all. No denial, no confirmation, no angry social media rant, nothing. And this is somebody who built an entire career on speaking her mind and firing back when she felt attacked. So the silence stands out. Maybe she is waiting for the story to blow over. Maybe she feels like responding would only make things worse, because if she openly confirms she was not invited, then she is acknowledging that the industry shut her out. But if she says she chose not to go, a lot of people probably would not believe that either. Staying silent may be the safest move for now. At the same time, silence tends to create its own narrative. Meanwhile, the rest of the industry is watching all of this very closely. Other celebrities are paying attention. They see what can happen when someone drifts out of alignment politically or socially. They see the walls start going up. They see the deportation petition. They notice how quickly former allies go quiet. And whether they admit it publicly or not, people are definitely taking mental notes about what they are willing to say out loud going forward. That is how systems like this keep themselves in place. You do not have to punish everybody. Sometimes all it takes is one highly visible example for everyone else to understand the risk. So where does that leave things now? The loyalty test idea Katt Williams talks about is still just a theory. There is no document proving it, no recording. Nobody from Vogue or the Met Gala has stepped forward to confirm any of it, but people keep pointing to the same pattern. One celebrity appears to play along and gets rewarded. Another publicly moves in a different direction and suddenly seems to lose access. And when you add in everything happening around it, the White House moment, the deportation petition, the vague references to some Roc Nation feud nobody fully explains, the simpler explanations start feeling less convincing to a lot of people. What happens next is anybody's guess. Minaj could break her silence tomorrow. Katt Williams could give another interview and add even stranger details to the story. The 2027 Met Gala guest list will eventually leak, and people are definitely going to check whether her name is back on it or whether the distance between her and that world has become permanent. And every celebrity thinking about making a political statement is probably watching this unfold and quietly weighing the risk for themselves, because now the consequences feel more real. A missing invitation, a souvenir publicly reduced to a novelty item, thousands of people signing a petition calling for your removal.
Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Nicki Minaj will ever walk a Met Gala carpet again? And what do you make of the whole Roc Nation angle? Actual feud, or just a convenient explanation people are hiding behind? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll talk again soon.